Alright, so I'm recording this actually the morning after I've actually done the reading last night. Just a little heads up for anybody who listens. This reading definitely did not go like my normal readings do. It was pretty intense, it was pretty dark, it was pretty point blank. So if you're looking for sunshine and rainbows, you might not want to listen. And if hearing just some absolutely brutal, blunt truth might get you upset, just warning you now. This was intense. So, all right, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Hey, how's everyone doing? This is Eric, and Karen is here with me, and Fluffy's over here snoring already. So, I'm sure you guys will hear him in the background. So this video is a little bit late. As some of you know, I wasn't feeling so well this past week, so it's basically I'm going to sit and channel the answers to questions that you all have given me based on world events. And we've got a lot of questions, so I'm going to do my best to hit them all. I will try not to over extrapolate on any one particular question unless my guides completely guide me to do that in hopes of getting to all the questions. This session here is similar to, basically this is how I channel, this is how I read. So if you were interested in a channel reading with me, this is similar to what you would get. You would message me with 3 questions, and I would sit and I would channel the answers and deliver them to you in an MP4 format similar to this. So without further ado, Karen's got the questions. It's up to her discernment in terms of what questions she reads and in what order, and if she combines any of them. And so Karen, go ahead and give us a start.
Okay, so the first one is, what's the end game of all the shootings we are hearing about now, and do you believe that they will be successful in confiscating guns from Americans in the United States?
Well, the answer to the second part of the question is no. They're not even actually going to try. The goal is clear and simple division. It's simple as that. There's the illusion of an end game, but the party in power now has been in power plenty of times before, and they've really never done anything. They're going to knock around the edges of things and make it look like they might do something and give everybody a reason to jump up and yell and scream and say, hey, look what they're going to do. But in the end, when push comes to shove, it's just the division tactic. That's all it is. Go ahead.
And your guides giving you any information about the humanitarian crisis at the southern U.S. border?
I'm going to tap in with that. I should mention now that I don't really keep up with a lot of the world events, and that's sort of purposeful. So that way, when I'm reading, I'm just genuinely getting what my guides are giving me, and I don't have any real preconceived ideas or notions about things. It's very similar to how I work with a client. I don't want to know, human design or astrology about the person. I just want to get the questions so I don't have any, again, preconceived ideas. So I'm sorry, but can you read the question again?
Yeah, your guides giving you any information on the humanitarian crisis at the southern U.S. border?
I'm going to tap in for that one and see what they give me. Don't get choked up. It's real, but at the same time it's being manufactured. interesting that they're telling me conditions are actually better than what is being allowed to be shown. Again, similar with the gun situation and the shootings, it's being manipulated, manufactured, and portrayed in such a way as to continue to seed division.
Okay, there's a kind of a second part that
Okay.
someone else asked. Do you think that the people who are coming across the border are being like paid or guided to do that, or do you think they're coming of their own accord?
No, even before you finish the question, my guides are telling me a big no. Um, the, it's organic in terms of the people that are coming here. Um, there's real reasons for them to be coming here, and what my guys are saying is to don't get caught up in believing the hype that yes, there is a humanitarian crisis. Yes, people are coming over and we need to find a way to handle the situation. But it is being purposefully mishandled for political reasons, and that won't be stopping anytime soon. And while I can certainly empathize and sympathize with, um, especially if someone's an empath, feeling um, sort of helpless about that situation, like you hate to see people suffering, and you want to help people. Um, Again, my guides are very clear in that you know it- things many of the things that we're seeing right now are being manipulated on purpose for the simple reason of feeding off of people's fears and negative vibrations. It doesn't mean that the things aren't real and they're not really happening, but they are being um, blown out of proportion on purpose because they don't exactly have a fear of being voted out of office. I'll put it that way.
Okay. So BLM has said that cities will burn if the Derek Chauvin trial ends in a not guilty verdict. Are you getting any information on whether that will be a guilty verdict or not? And will the burning be any worse than the riots that we saw in 2020?
And I'm trying to tap in a little bit deeper than what my personal opinion is here. I have a personal opinion, and my guides are telling me basically the same thing. That is, I have a hard time believing that they are going to find him guilty. Um, Again, this is something where the powers to be actually want him to be found not guilty, so that there is an excuse for the cities to burn. Most certainly, if he's found not guilty, I expect and anticipate a gradually worsening situation in terms of riots and, as they've put it, cities burning. And they're giving me something else here, so hold on. Yeah, this messaging that they're giving me is extremely tough because what they continue to tell me is to not get caught up in the emotions of things. Um, wow, this is a really crappy analogy, but this is the one that they've given me. When it's time for one of your pets to maybe be put to sleep, it's this horrible emotional, terrible situation. But you also have to disconnect emotionally long enough to make the decision to actually do it. Right? You have to disconnect from the fact of what you're actually going to have to do in order to make the decision to do it. And right now, with a lot of the things that we're seeing, what my guides are asking people to do is it's a fine line to have empathy and sympathy for the people that are being used, while at the same time, any energy spent right now on thinking that, in terms of right now, and thinking that we're going to change things or alter the course of where they're going. Again, they're going to circle me all the way back to November and tell everybody, look, Mother Nature's got this. Mother Nature has this one. And so the biggest thing is all of these events that are happening and are real. And these riots, if they find him not guilty, they're gonna have a party. But you have to sort of step outside of it in terms of not letting the negativity of it affect your vibration. You can be aware of it, have empathy, have sympathy, but do not let the negativity of it affect your vibration. Do not get down. Do not get fearful and allow the sadness that you would feel to maybe transfer into anger, because that is the goal. That is the goal of these dark forces and energies that are in control right now, is fear, division, anger, confusion. And a lot of people are being used on both sides, on all the way around. They don't care who's afraid. They don't care who's angry at who. So these events that happen as they happen, try to understand the bigger picture and to not get too caught up on each individual thing and thinking we've got to do something about this, because it's not going to change right now. At some points, not too far down the road, it will. Okay, but right now, to try to change things, you're casting your fishing line into the parking lot. It's not much is going to happen. Okay, next question.
Okay, so George Soros financed and interfered in America by financing the campaigns of radical politicians. That has set America on a certain path. Do your guides say that this will continue or there will be a change?
This is going to continue.
Do you have a time period?
'22, again, from what my guides have told me over and over again, they keep saying that 2022 is going to be like a party. Well, I don't necessarily think that means we're going to be partying, but there's going to be a break in the tension. There's going to be a big knowing that hits basically all of humanity. Unfortunately, that's not the end of the tunnel. 23 and 24 definitely appear to be unpleasant. We're just too divided right now. We are not going to clean up this mess on our own. It is going to take outside intervention. But we are not and I'm not just talking about the United States here, I'm talking about globally. I would love to give a different answer here, but humans, we've gotten weak, we've gotten way too used to our niceties. I mean, I appreciate everybody's concerns. I have my own concerns. People want to know, if the power grid's going to be off and on. 150 years ago, there was no power grid. You know what I mean? We are living in extraordinarily spoiled times. We just don't know it. And so the level of tyranny that humans are liable to experience before enough people decide to do anything is liable to continue to grow, and it's going to take outside intervention, however that looks. And again, I keep being told Mother Nature has got this. So.
All right, so that leads to the next two questions. Are there hidden powers behind the Rothschilds, the Bilderbergers, the Soros types who think they are running things? Are there powers beyond them?
Not that matter. Not that matter. I mean, there's dark energies and there's light energies that are running the show. And right now, the dark energies are pretty much running the show. And I know light workers don't like to think that. They think that light workers like to think that right now we are engaged in a spiritual war. That is somewhat accurate. Somewhat. The problem is that the dark side is completely willing to lose everything in order to win, which is why they are winning. And I'm not preaching to anybody. I'll say the same thing to myself. The dark side's playing chess while we're playing checkers. If they're willing to lose everything to win, and we are not willing to risk everything, we will lose. Whatever ground you're going to stand on. If you're going to be somebody who is anti-mask, and you have a business, and if you are not willing to risk your business, you will lose that argument to whatever city, county, state government rules apply. So you extrapolate that out completely globally. Most of the planet has been disarmed anyway. And until we receive some outside help, and we will not receive outside help until enough of us have realized that we're not playing the same game. We're not playing by the same rules. I would like to sit here and say that we are going to raise our vibration high enough and meditate ourselves out of this, but there ain't any scriptures that tell us that's what's coming.
Are there off-planetary energies that will intervene at some point, given the idea
They're already
of
here.
UFOs and aliens that are being discussed by mainstream media now?
They're already here. The stuff being discussed by mainstream media is just being used as a decoy, as a ploy to make people think that there's some kind of opening up of information, that somehow we're getting there. We're somehow changing minds and it's baloney. It's a ruse. It's a ploy. It's a Trojan horse. The forces that are eventually going to take up for us are here. They can't do it all alone either. And opportunities have come and gone, and humans have yet to really step up to the plate because we are still beholden to self-inflicted rules and self-inflicted mindsets of what is good and bad and evil and how we should be and shouldn't be and the actions that we should take and the things that we shouldn't do in terms of fighting back. We are fighting by a set of rules that the dark side don't give a shit about. But in terms of the off-planetary forces, they're already here. They're already here. They're waiting. Basically, they're waiting for us to get our proverbial heads out of our asses and wake up. Not just wake up, but wake up and be willing to do something about it. Next question, please.
Do the guides feel that Biden will last 4 years? And if not, do they have an opinion on the vice president who seems to just laugh at everything?
They refuse to answer the question. They say it's not important. It's an utter distraction. They're in a mood. I'm sorry, whoever asked that question. They refuse to answer the question. They say whoever asked that question needs to think about 3 levels deeper. Stop looking at the characters in the movie and figure out what the screenplay is. Next question, please.
Okay, so there's a lot of questions on the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just going to kind of, I think...
They're screaming at me.
What are they screaming?
Just go ahead and finish the question.
Well, okay. So, someone's struggling with the fact that one of her family members, child, went behind the mother's back and got vaccine. And she's wondering what will the negative effects of the vaccine be, and will it cause autoimmune disease, etc., and will a connection be made with that? And there's another question that I think you'll probably answer in this, and it's someone wanting more discussion about what your guides think about this bacterial thing that comes out of the vaccinated.
All right. All right, so here comes the part that I'll apologize up front for anybody who's already taken the vaccine. My guides are in a fucking mood about this one. I'm collecting this, guys. Just bear with me. All right. The guides are not pleasant about this, but you guys have said to deliver it the way I'm getting it, so I'm going to deliver it the way I'm getting it. My guides, this is rough, okay? And this doesn't... But they say you dumbasses get what you deserve. How stupid can you be to fall for this? And why are you letting people around you fall for it? Get off your frickin' asses and do something about it, or quit bitching and complaining about it. It's all right there. I wrote it all out for you. Just read any of the damn scriptures. You guys can all see what the hell is happening. Everybody's just going to sit around and let it happen, and let it happen, and let it happen, and not do a fucking thing about it until it's too late. Because every one of us, including myself, is just afraid to lose what we have. That's the whole damn thing. They made us weak. They made us fucking weak. And now we're weak. And now here we are. And we're staring right at it. And we're just hoping, maybe not me. Maybe not me. Maybe not me. Well, my line is where they force me to do it. But as you can see, that line can get muddled, right? Because our family members can go and do things, and now we're screwed. We are just sitting around, we're just frogs in a fucking pot. We can be as anti-vax and anti-mask and anti-tyranny as we want, but there were 1 million people at that Capitol, and 500 people broached through. If those 1 million people, and I wasn't there, so I'm not disparaging, but humanity as a whole, if those 1 million people would have been programmed to do the right thing instead of stand down, we wouldn't be having this discussion. And that goes worldwide. I know I'm focusing on the United States, and I'm not trying to do that. But worldwide, I know that there are places that you guys have been disarmed. There's nothing you could do. You fight back, you lose it all. And guess what? That's the position we're all gonna be in. We're in that position now. None of us just want to admit it. This damn thing, they freaking got us locked down. They got us wearing these fucking masks, and all it's doing is dragging it out longer and longer and longer and longer. We're going to end up with more people dead over the course of the years than if we would have just bit the bullet and said, well, some people are going to die, and then we're done with it. But now we've dragged it out. We've allowed ourselves to have it dragged out. And now we got this vaccine, which was so abundantly clear, the reason for the whole thing in the first place. And what are we doing? Myself included. What are we doing? Nothing. Because am I going to risk everything? Am I going to risk my family? Because that's where we're at. It's where we're at, is collectively getting together in large enough groups to shoot them the middle finger and having to defend ourselves with arms. And I'm sorry, I know we're all light workers, but we ain't going to meditate ourselves out of this. They're using it against us. No different than people coming in, illegally into the country, using our own laws and our own good nature against us. They are using the fact that we want to remain peaceful against us. Not playing by the same set of rules. So this thing that they keep giving me about November. It's because we're going to have so many different layers and levels of exposure, because I know people that have still been in their basement this whole time. They haven't been exposed to anything in the last year, practically. Now people are going to get the vaccine and are going to start getting exposed to things that they haven't even been exposed to in the last year. And everybody's going to be mingling with however many variants we have. And it's a clusterfuck. And I certainly, look, I'm in the same position. I'm not going to be able to talk my daughter out of getting this fucking shot. So I'm right there with you. But I have been saying since probably at least a year that humanity was going to sit on a collective hands, sit on our asses until we all experience enough collective pain where we all look around and say enough is enough. Everything up to November has been foreplay. And November is still only the beginning of the big deal. In terms of the bacterial thing, it's simple cause and effect. We were already getting ready to reach, peak, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the dam is going to be broken. We are at the point now where we are going to have used, antibacterial wipes and soaps and all this crap to the point where we're backing nature into the corner. Let's not forget what we're fighting here. Even if you want to say this thing was made in a lab, it's out in nature now and it's mingling with nature. And we are trying to to mask up and wipe away nature. I mean, think about this. Come on. Nature has got this in the bag, man, and all we are doing is making it that much worse on ourselves and making it that much harder on ourselves as a collective, because we have all been fed into so much programming at this point that nobody knows what the hell is upside down, inside out. We all have our intuition, but then that's where it stops, right? We can't do anything about it, right? Or maybe we have the option going somewhere of not wearing a mask, but we don't want to we don't want to offend anybody. We don't want to cause a scene, so we put the damn thing on. The biggest threat to humanity right now is the fact that the number of people that think that they are awake and they really aren't. And even then, the ones that are truly awake may still not be ready to completely risk everything for freedom. That's what we face. And until everybody knows that everybody's going to join in, who's going to be the first one to go? And then who's going to be the one that jumps first and hopes that everybody jumps behind them? Next question, please.
So that was everything you had on the bacterial thing.
Yeah, the bacterial thing is simple cause and effect. We did it to ourselves. We had already reached critical mass just about with how much, antibiotics and bacterial soaps and all of this crap that we've been putting out there. And now we have just completely gone over the freaking deep end. And nature is like, all right, you want to try to wipe me away with that napkin, with that freaking scented little towel? I got news for you.
So there's someone who has a business and their employees have gotten the shot.
Mm-hmm.
And she's had rashes every time she's
Mm-hmm.
around them. And she's very afraid of viral shedding, and she wants to know if
It's
you
energetic.
guys-
It's energetic. It's energetic. If you've already been walking around not afraid of it, stay unafraid. It, it's absolutely energetic. You're not making it up. It's not in your mind. It's a real thing. It's happening. But don't be afraid of it. Just hold on a second. you've probably already done this, but they're saying to wash any of their ashes in colloidal silver. And what? Hold on. What? That's not even a thing. Is there such a thing as iron seed?
Iron seed? If there is, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm trying to get a different word here. Iron seed. I don't know. We'll have to look that one up. Sometimes I get some weird things, guys.
Um,
I think Karen's looking it up.
yeah, I'm trying to see if there is. I've never heard of it, but
And neither have I. But they're
well,
well.
there is something called iron seed. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Ah, it's a video game. You should play
It's
video
a video-
games.
What's the video game about? Let's follow
It's
the
a
trail.
1994 MS-DOS video game.
Uh-huh.
It's a real-time strategy, science fiction, space trading, and combat game.
All right. Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah.
Because what they were telling me was to rub it down in colloidal silver, and then they insisted on iron seed. Now, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's some detail inside the video game. Maybe there's something having to do with that year. But we'll have to look into that later. Or maybe whoever asked the question can do some of that research. They're insisting that the word iron seed is important, and maybe it means something to you. Maybe it was your favorite game back then. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you love to play video games, and they're simply just telling you to find something to do that's going to relax you, to help get rid of the stress from the rash and to get rid of the rash. But that's just me guessing at this point. But they insisted the words iron seed. So,
Okay.
all right. Next question.
So this question is actually one that I've been dealing with. There's kind of multiple questions. I'm going to try to pull the questions out of this paragraph. So she's saying, how does one feel secure in a world without mother, father, sibling connections that do not serve my greater good? I think she means a world that doesn't serve her greater good. She says, I'm somewhat of a loner, which is okay, but I feel like I do have roots here on this planet. But it gives me a sense of false lacking of something. I know that my attempts to repair these relationships do not serve my human design. So the challenge I'm facing right now is trying to filter out the people who are not conducive to my transcendence. I feel a little trapped in family connections that have not served me. The family ties seem to bind me to disappointment and resentment, blocking my energy to transcend those petty human egoic concerns. So I think she's kind of asking, like, how do you cope with that?
That was a lot.
Yeah, how do you cope? How do you cope?
Can we boil it down to two sentences?
How do you cope when your family has a completely different belief system, and you don't want to be without your family, but you don't feel like you can continue to grow spiritually when you're in their energy, because they keep pulling you back into, what's going on in the world and what they believe about it.
So they've continued throughout the entire time that you were talking. They've been saying just one thing, show me one thing, and I'm trying to get a more direct answer. The answer they're giving me is incredibly simplistic. But let's roll with it. in terms of, how do we cope with that situation? Again, the answer is very simplistic. What do you do? And what I mean by that is a dog barks and plays, and a cat meows, and cows say moo, and kangaroos fight. See, there's things that each animal, and we're animals, there's things that everybody does. So, we boil it down now to a human, individual thing. Like, somebody was to ask me, what do I do? I think the first thing that I would say is I make hockey videos. That would be the first thing out of my mouth. So, or I would say I play with my dogs. Spend time in nature. Any of those things at the top of the list are the things that, for lack of a better phrase, become our coping mechanisms for the things in life that we can't control. And if there's one thing that we cannot control, it's our parents, siblings, etc. Right? What they are suggesting in this particular situation, and I'm sorry it took me so long to get here, but sometimes they lead me on a path. What they are suggesting for the individual who asked this question to do is whatever it is that your family members do not like about you, do it more. Doesn't mean you have to rub it in their face or do it in their presence or whatever, but whatever it is that they dislike about you, that doesn't resonate about you with them, find a way to do it more. Even if that means they don't like the fact that you interrupt and argue, do it more. Be more yourself. Don't subconsciously start backing off of who you are. Stand in your power even stronger, even if it would be interpreted as a negative, because one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to continue to do that thing, and if it really is a negative, you're going to burn it out and liable that you might lose a friendship or have somebody else say something to you, but that's okay, because that's not your parents. It's not your sibling. And we all know we ain't listening to them, and they ain't listening to us. But some stranger that tells us, you're awfully argumentative, we might hear that. We might hear that. So that's one option that could happen. That may actually lead you back to your family to say, hey, that thing, yeah, you were right. Now, the second thing that could happen is you could continue to do what they dislike about you, do it more, do it more, do it more, and find out that by doing that thing, whatever it is, leads you to some sort of significant success. Maybe maybe they don't like that you're loud and boisterous all the time at the family gatherings. So you go out somewhere and you're loud and boisterous, and you meet somebody, and you end up in a relationship because they love the fact that you're loud and boisterous. Or or you're out somewhere and whatever that thing is that you do, you meet somebody who's got an employment opportunity because they just love that thing that you do. That I love it. That's so cool. It resonates with them. So that's the suggestion that they've given to me for whoever asked that question, is that whatever it is that they don't like about you, double down on it, baby. Is that answer enough? I know you had said a lot, but I kind of lost some of
I
it. But
did. I mean, I would just add something here. I'm not 100% sure, but I think with some of the stuff that I've been through with my family, and I had, because I have a medical background, I thought I had convinced my mom and dad not to take the so-called vaccine, and I had, but I have a child, oldest child that's getting married, and um, I've gotten myself into a position where they've all now been vaccinated, and they don't really want me there if I'm not vaccinated, but they feel like I should be there, and I don't want to be there because I'm not vaccinated, and if anybody does get sick and die, I don't want to get blamed for it. So it's been tough. I've had to really back out and let them be where they are, and I'm not really reaching out to them at this point. I feel like if they want to reach out to me, they can, but we put so much emphasis on blood because it makes us feel safe. It gives us our tribe of origin, and we try to carry that through life, and we struggle when we don't have those connections. But if you really look at it from a spiritual perspective, then we're just ourselves in these bodies. We come in alone, we die alone, and I've decided that for me, I'm not going to allow human opinions and ego determine for me what I'm going to do in terms of my own growth. And I think that's part of what all this division is about. I think, and maybe Eric, you can say something about this, but it feels like they're dividing us, even among friends and family, so that the ones who are trying to awaken and grow are really struggling with that. And I hear it over and over. I get so many messages from people who are struggling with the fact that they're not in alignment with their family of origin. It's very painful for them.
yeah, a lot of people are struggling simply because even if we're in alignment with where we are now, the changes that are coming and the rapidness in which they are coming, is that there's no staying in alignment now because the alignments and the vibrations are changing so rapidly that with each new realization of what's really going on around us, we immediately become out of alignment because there immediately becomes something that we need to do about that, whether it be in the physical or the spiritual realm. We are constantly being confronted with something that we need to take action on. And that starts to add up. We're still living in the world where we got to pay our bills and go to work and do all these things. So it's not like we can sit around all day and, and meditate and work with our crystals and our stones and get in the right vibration. We have to do it in the context of still living in the rest of this world. And so that struggle is, the struggle is real, it's extreme, and even our family members that are asleep, they're still going through it. they just refuse to see it at this point.
So that kind of leads me, I guess, to the next question. So it's a question about psychopathy. And they want to know, is it just me, or are psychic attacks on the increase with frequency and intensity? It feels wild out there. And she would like some insight from you and your guides on the rise of psychopathy, narcissism, and parasitic entity attachments, and how to combat those negative energies and shield ourselves from the dark energies that are prevalent in this current climate.
Yeah, wow, man, what a trip of a question that is. Good.
It's a trip of a question.
It's a good question. It's a good question. I don't know how anybody gonna like the answer. I don't even like the answer. Say it again, slowly, please, because I want to be clear.
Okay, so she would like your thoughts on whether psychic attacks, if it's just her, or are these psychic attacks increasing in frequency, and is the intensity getting worse? And she'd just like to know what your guides thinks about it, if there is more, in terms of the psychopathy, the narcissism, the parasitic entity attachments,
Right.
and how to combat those negative energies.
Well, all that stuff is incredibly significant. It's not even one attack after another. What the dark side has done is they have, for a great number of us, they've actually opened up a permanent, I don't want to say permanent, but there's an open channel to all of us right now. Let's just call it the fear channel. At some point, even if you get all the way down to it, like somebody like me who's going to shoot you the bird and tell you, how it all is going to be, I still have a fear of losing loved ones, pets. So there's still, even for those of us who are, would consider ourselves the strongest, there's still a fear. And the dark is tapped into that. And that channel is there. So what I mean is that it's not separate attacks. It's all one big, ongoing vibrational attack. Now, how to keep things from being attached. First thing is awfully simple. When you feel the need to disconnect and just not paying attention to anything for a week or two, do it. Don't let anybody judge you. Don't let anybody tell you, you gotta know what's going on. Bullshit. No, you don't. Take a break. Number 2, this is the biggest one. Stop trying to figure it out. The beauty of this plan that the dark side has laid out is that the overwhelming emotion that they are eliciting, that they want to elicit, is not simply fear, but confusion. As one causes the other, causes the other. And you could sit there and say, I'm not afraid, I just want to know. They got you anyway. Because to figure it out by doing anything other than tapping into your own guides, into your own self, what do you have to do? You gotta watch this, and you gotta read this, and you gotta listen to that one, and you gotta try to think about it and figure it out and think about it and look at all the things that are happening. They got you. That's it. People are busy trying to figure it out. There's nothing to figure it out. It's an illusion that there's anything to figure out. Is it going to be the cabal? Is it the Rockefellers? Is it this one? Is it that one? Is it Trump? Is it Biden? It's all of it. It's all of it being played. The illusion is that any of us are basically on different sides. If you stretch it all the way out to just, get all the way out from it, it's humanity just being played like a fiddle. And there's different strings. There's a liberal string and a conservative string and a Biden string and a Trump string and a vaccine string and an anti-vax string. You get the point? We're all on the same damn instrument getting played. I was saying that for a year. So, I'm sorry, Karen, you were getting ready to say something?
Well, I have a question that kind of pertains to this. So, back in 2012, there was a scientist who did a presentation at the Pentagon, and the topic was dealing with extremism. And they had discovered the God gene, and he was suggesting a vaccine for the God gene to deal with extremism.
Right.
So it seems to me, and I posted something about this in the Lightwork group, it seems to me that the attack is really not on these individual things. The attack is on our consciousness. Is that accurate? And I mean like our conscious
Right,
connection with our spirit, not, our conscious mind, but...
The attack, yes and no. I know there's people that believe that they're trying to eliminate that connection. And that may be something that is some imaginary illusion that people on the dark side would have, that they could do that. I think what they figured out is they can bypass that, even for the strongest of us. They don't need to eliminate it. They just hijack it. They just hijack it. There are people saying that they are spiritual keyboard warriors that follow the elemental P, you know the rest guy. They're hijacking that connection. They're using that connection against us. They're using our desire to remain peaceful against us. They're using our desire to not judge people against us. They're using our desire to simply just be wanted to be left alone against us. So what the dark side has figured out is we don't need to eliminate this connection. We just hijack it and use it against them. There are a lot of people that think that they are awake that are not. Because there's different levels, there's different layers and levels and everything, but when you really get to the bottom, when you really get to the freaking bottom, you realize there's no bottom. It's just another layer. It's just another layer. And like I said today in the group, or in the video for Patreon, the weight is extraordinary because I would be willing to bet everything I have that David Palmer is in the same position where he cannot just get up there and say what his guides are giving him. And I'm sure there's other people that channel, other people that do readings that are in the same position. So I wouldn't be so concerned about some nefarious... Oh, they may want to try, what you're saying about the God vaccine and all that, they certainly have that thought. But all you have to do to see how easily they've hook, line, and sinker humanity is to just go look at any thread about wearing a mask on Twitter. And you will see an abundance of 20-something-year-olds very proud to wear 2 masks because Fauci told me to, and I'll keep wearing it until the CDC says I shouldn't. We have, we've in many ways, unfortunately, have done this to ourselves. What else do we have? We've got, okay. I'm just looking at the camera battery. We've got a little bit of time left.
So, if we have time, I want to come back to that idea of consciousness, but let's get the other 2 questions in.
Okay.
So, will food intolerances, allergies, etc., continue to rise as our electrical energy fields upgrade and our physical forms are in the process of playing catch up? Will our dietary needs look completely different to suit these changes in the years to come?
That's going to be a very, very individualistic thing.
Her question is, what do your guides have to say about any tips and suggestions as we are adjusting to this transitional phase? So I think she's talking about these energetic upgrades that we're having with the body.
In terms of what eating and drinking and whatnot?
Yeah.
Very simple. Eat what resonates with you. Very simple. Don't worry about losing weight, gaining weight. I shouldn't. What resonates with you? You want to have a steak? Have a steak. You want to go vegan? Go vegan. It's going to constantly, the energies are constantly changing. So imagine trying to figure out a diet that is going to work with that. It's not going to happen. There are going to be times when you want meat, times when you don't want meat. There'll be times when all you want is freaking chocolate chips. Have some freaking chocolate chips. The last thing that we need to be doing right now is stressing out our emotional centers by being worried about, I really shouldn't eat that. I don't know if I should eat that because I might gain a pound or lose a pound, or it's too much salt or too much sugar. None of us are eating Snickers bars all day. Everything within moderation, obviously. But don't deprive yourself now. Don't deprive yourself of the little things, of the little joys right now. That would be, you're gonna go to the other end of this experiment and be like, man, I knew I should have had the damn cake.
Well, don't you think if people have used food as a coping mechanism, though, and particularly if it's processed foods and very dense, non-living, high vibration foods, do you think that could affect their body as if they want the body to?
It's an interesting question, because we believe that we can take any stone and impugn it with energy, and we believe that we can, take objects and impugn them with energy, and that, what we take in, we can cleanse and we can filter. And, food, I'm not saying live on McDonald's, but the stress, this is a saying that I'm going to put on a t-shirt. This saying is mine, by the way. I'm about ready to give one away that I've had for a long, long, long time. The stress of deprivation is far worse than the consequences of gratification. Eat what resonates with you. And stop worrying, stop thinking so much about it. If it resonates with you and you like it and it makes you feel good, it makes you feel good. obviously within reason. And I'm assuming that everybody within the sound of our voice isn't eating Snickers or McDonald's all the time.
Right, because it might resonate with you, but if you eat it and then it doesn't resonate so much, that might be a clue that
Well, if it stops resonating, it stops
It
resonating.
was palate and your mind wanting a specific food versus your body resonating with it.
But certainly don't deprive yourself. If you want the piece of chocolate cake, have the piece of chocolate cake. When we're done with this experiment and get back where we're going, you're going to wish you had the cake, believe me. We're here to eat the chocolate cake. We are not here to figure out anything else. We're here to eat the damn cake.
Okay. So, will we be communicating more telepathically as our bodies attune more to the changing frequencies? And if so, what would these time frames be?
Oh, you'll like this one, 27. Way my guides have presented this to me, and they presented this to me multiple times. Energetically, it is a giant clusterfuck until 2027. Yeah, this is something that they want me to touch on here, and it's not just energetically. In case you haven't gotten the theme of what they've been giving me, there will be no figuring it out. There will be no knowing exactly what the right thing and the wrong thing to do is if you're looking anywhere outside of yourself or in your small trusted circle. Do not deprive yourself at this juncture in time. The energies are going to be so crazy. It's all over the place. And they are being manipulated as well. But the crazy thing is that we are looking at it at this teeny tiny little lens, and we're thinking that we're bouncing all over the place. But then if you get back and view it from further and further and further and further and further away, it's just this little teeny tiny blip on a little graph that says 2020 to 2027. And from afar, it doesn't look like much, but we're in it, and we feel it. So to us, it's the friggin' end of the world. But in terms of the planet, you zoom all the way back out of the planetary energies over time, it's a noticeable little bump. But our collective hive mind and the collective vibration is turning it into so much that it is and it isn't. Yes, we are having a mass awakening. But for every action there is a reaction. And believe me, the dark energies are doing everything they possibly can and it's easy. They've hijacked the channel, and they just make people think, oh, they're awake. They feed them what they want. How many of you listening? You've all done the same thing. You've all thought about something, and then it shows up on your Facebook or a Google ad, YouTube, from thinking about it. And we're worried about what food we're putting in our bodies. The ship sailed. We're just slow to figure it out. 2027. Until then, if you try to figure anything out, buy a lot of Band-Aids for your forehead.
Well, these rave children that are supposed to be born in 2027, I mean, it could be, several years before we see what they are able to do, because on their own they won't do anything. They'll actually appear to be mentally retarded and unable to function, probably not articulate. But when you get 2, 3, 4 of them together, they become conscious. They have basically the consciousness that all of us spiritual people have been saying that we're ascending to is what they will have.
Right.
they won't have the emotions or the survival, the imperative to survive like we do. They will not be concerned with survival, and they will not be concerned with emotions. So it'll be very interesting to see how those connections will take place. But I guess that's the question, because from the human design perspective, humans will always be humans. Humans are not
Human nature is going to human nature.
transcending our own consciousness.
Right.
So that's an interesting thing to think about. Guess we'll have to wait and see.
Were we done with the questions?
Mhm.
That was it?
That was it.
That was the last questions. Okay,
Yeah.
so I wanna close this by saying a couple things here.
Could you, before you do that,
Yeah,
could you
sure.
though just give everybody some, what should they be doing on a day-to-day basis? Because it's a lot of stop doing this and stop doing that. What should they be doing?
I'm getting the answer. You know, I get how a lot of the stuff that I end up coming out with, I'm not unaware of how it comes out. Everybody has a different purpose. Now, when I ask for dreams of what's coming, I haven't had a different answer in well over a year. What can we do now? The first thing you have to do is make a decision. No judgment here. If your decision is to just kind of sit back, watch it unfold, and see if you make it out the other side, just fighting this monster, unless we all do it, and like somebody brought up, these are our parents, our siblings, our friends that are part of the problem. So, when you're done weighing it all out and you realize that the only thing to do is to sit back and live your life and watch what's going on, and I'll tell you what my guides have been telling me for the last month. Every every time one of these subjects comes up, they've told me the same thing over and over and over again. Stop worrying about it. None you could do. What's happening is happening. And unless you're really genuinely gonna fight, what is there to figure out? Like, as an example, if we got together and we had all the evidence and figured it out that Bill Gates definitely is out to reduce the population. And we've got the evidence. What are we going to do? What are we going to do with it? 40-50% of the population still thinks Trump said drink bleach. And they won't even listen to you say, the video, he didn't say that. They can't even hear. They're like fingers in their ears going, la, 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 la. So, something to do. Ask yourself, why are we even trying to figure this shit out? What are we going to do if we get the answers? So when I get there, my guys just keep telling me, man, just enjoy what you have now. Enjoy what you can do now. Because what's coming is extremely uncertain to the point where nobody's guides know exactly how it's going to go. Because the universe hasn't decided yet. But a collective shock is coming one way or another. And all these little things that we worry about on a daily basis, well, some of them are going to still be there, Might still have to pay bills. But the hope is in what happens on the other side of things. Figuring it out, trying to figure out the why and the who right now, forget about it. It's like Kennedy. What they say in the movie, the shooters don't even know who pulled the trigger. There is no why and who right now. It's energetic, it's planetary, it's scripture. We've known this was coming. We've known this has been coming. Enjoy your life that you have now. Get outside, play with your dogs. Do an extra special garden this year. Do some things that you take for granted that you'd be awfully disappointed if you don't get a chance to do. People are worried about everything going back to normal. I know there's a lot of people that already regret things they didn't, things they took for granted before the lockdowns and everything. You only want to take a look at what you have now and not let the same thing happen again. Enjoy what we have now. So many of these events are being manipulated, and they're not just being manipulated, but the more that we pick up into them and the more fear that we have, it amplifies the events themselves. And it's like this open loop. It's like this self-feeding monster. And I know, I get it, I see it all day long. I see people wanting to say that the light and the dark are at war and the light is winning. The only one winning right now is Mother Nature. Mother Nature's gonna get her way. And there's just way too many of us on the damn planet. I know it, you know it, we know it, we all know it. So enjoy what you have now. And just enjoy it. Just take that extra minute. That's it. That's it. Okay. I'm going to close this up. I don't know how long that was, but appreciate everybody listening. And think I'm spent. So I will see you again in the next video.